predictions for match day 9. Today, you got just the dynamic duo with you today. We got myself, of course, and we have Hector Flores of Insert Name FC here today to predict, again, match day 9, all of the results. Because it's just us two today, probably get a little bit shorter video. That's totally okay. I think, instead of going the full 90 today, we're probably going to go an hour or less, but you're still going to get the same discussion, the same predictions, the same banter all in between. All right, so let's go to kick this thing off, bro. Let's start off with Portland versus LAFC. Bro, Portland's in a weird spot, man. They drew to SKC 3-3 on the road. LAFC took home bragging rights for El Tráfico, winning 2-1 against LAG, against the Galaxy. I don't know, man. This one's a really interesting one, considering it's being played at Providence Park. Both teams are actually somewhat identical so far to this point of the season, nearly averaging 2 goals per game. Portland haven't kept a clean sheet in God knows how long, 13 matches. These teams have not drawn any of the last 4 matchups together. So I think this is going to be a game where we see goals 100%. But on the road, bro, do you trust LAFC?
Man, that's an interesting one, but both of them are going to score. The way both these teams have been playing defensively, it's tough, especially because you're talking about a Crapo revenge game here.
Yeah.
And obviously he wants to be able to show out against a team that literally dissed them and brought in Hugo. It's Hugo Lloris. How often are you going to get a chance to bring a goalkeeper like that? But
it's like 38-year-old Hugo Lloris. You know what I mean? Like, that's a little disrespectful considering what this man gave up to help you win a cup. It's his damn leg. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Since the World Cup, Lloris's highlight is a DUI. So I want to root for Crapo because the dude literally gave up his leg to win the MLS Cup, and dude, but I just don't know, man. Defensive, and it's like with Portland though, when they are down bad, it is just hard for them to come back. It is just super hard to come back. Clearly they've been able to do it in recent matches, but when when the goals start coming in, it's tough for Portland. It's just like, even the Atlanta game where Cabecita finally got that consolation goal, but once again, it's a consolation goal. There was nothing else of value of that goal. So,
facts.
I want to pick Portland so bad, but I just don't know. I think LAFC, they got the big. I think this is like the game-changing game that they needed, right? They needed to go in beat Big Brother, which unfortunately, I'm sure that shot me in the foot. But
the comments were pretty good.
But hey, little brother, as a little brother myself, you might not believe me because I'm taller than my brother, but as a little brother myself, yes, every once in a while when you do beat Big Brother, your chest comes going, you're excited, and I think LAFC, this was a much needed win for them, and I could see LAFC go on a run after this.
Yeah, I don't know, we'll see. I feel like Abasita's overdue for something, a first goal. We'll put it that way. I feel like if Portland scores first, this is a game they win. If they concede to LAFC first, they're going to concede no matter what. I think LAFC has proven a couple different times this season they know how to score. They've proven they don't need to be the dominant team on the field to score. That's what I saw in El Tráfico. I saw a team that didn't need to have all the possession. They didn't need to even create the most opportunities. They just needed to get some up there, and they're efficient enough to hit the back of the net. So I don't know. I like, and Bouanga, honestly, bro, he should have had more. You could have argued that even despite the Galaxy's dominance as far as like the possession stats and the chance creation, Bouanga could have had more. They could have actually done more in this game. But I feel like if Cabecita gets going, which I think his biggest contribution to Portland so far has been his ability to help create chances. He's only scored 1, I think, so far, maybe 2. At Providence Park, I feel like this should be Portland. Should be. I'm going to back Portland 2-1, I think. Not for any bias I've already shown against LAFC so far this season, which there's been plenty of that on the show. I just feel like it's a weird matchup for LAFC on the road. Like, I don't know why. I feel that way. So, I don't know, man. I'm back in Portland. You got Portland on this one, or do you think it's going to be like a draw?
I'm feeling draw. I think This is where we're going to need Neville.
Masterclass incoming. Okay,
I'm not going to say masterclass. Maybe just like just have that one moment of outwitting Cherundolo.
That'll be interesting.
I think that this is where, because I praise Portland a lot. I think that they have a solid roster. Maybe solid is not the right word, but they have a good roster.
Good offense for sure.
Yeah, they have a good attack. I think they have a good core of players. I think Brian, Crepro is like a great addition to them. Obviously, maybe fix a little things in the back line. Sergio Ramos wants to come to the MLS. Please come to the Houston Dynamo. Don't go there.
Bro, please come to FC Dallas, bro. I will pray. Just pray this man comes to Texas and it's not Houston or Austin.
Technically, really, the Dynamo don't need center backs, but I would just love it for myself. But yeah, I think this is where we need Neville to come in and just be the tactician that everyone thought he was going to be here in the MLS. Maybe finally we get to see what Xiaoyan sees in Neville, because
maybe
I still haven't seen it. I think most of it has come from just the quality of players that he has in the attack, but there needs to be a solid defensive performance done by one of these teams And yeah, I'm feeling there's gonna be a draw though. I think there's gonna be a draw.
All right, let's move on. Charlotte taking on Toronto. Charlotte giving the Revolution their first win of the season, which was weird. I don't know. Last week, 1-0 on the road. Toronto getting smacked in the battle for Canada by Vancouver 4-0 on the road. Charlotte's coming into this unbeaten in 15 games at the bank. That's kind of crazy, especially considering that I think they're like bottom 5, and both these teams are bottom 5 in scoring. So, like, how do you win games defensively? I get that whole mantra of like defense wins championships, but if you can't score, I don't. Unbeaten is kind of maybe the key word there. Unbeaten in 15 home matches. Toronto have kept the most clean sheets. So you have a team who cannot score, right, against a team who doesn't let up goals. This is probably strong snooze fest of the week potential, no?
I mean, if you're not a defensive guy, maybe. I mean, there's there's certain people out there that do appreciate good quality defense. I don't know if this is one of those matches, but but oh man, dude, but it's kind of hard because like I do have a soft spot for North Carolina. I was stationed there for 4 years when I was in the Marines,
Yeah.
and it's an amazing soccer state. Like not many people realize how like unreal the soccer is over there, and obviously the crowd comes. I feel like the crowd shows up good for Charlotte. I like the crowd. I just wish the product on the field equates it, but. Oh man, I don't think anybody's gonna want to watch this game. But I said that last. I think our Snooze Fest last week was actually a banger of a match.
It was a crazy. Well, the one I picked anyway. Did you pick also San Jose and Austin?
I
I picked that one last week, and bro, it was like a 7-goal banger. Like I was horribly off on that one.
Whoops on me on that one.
But we don't get every pick right here. It's totally okay. It's fine. It's safe space.
I feel like it's gonna. I feel like it's a draw.
Bro, I got 0-0. I got 0-0 in this one. Like hard 0-0.
The streak continues for Charlotte, but I mean, what's Insignia's status? I mean, like
he's still out. He's still out.
Yeah, okay.
They still have Richie Larea. They still have a few. Yeah, no. DC hosting Orlando. DC drawing to Columbus 1-1 on the road. Orlando coming off of a bye week, right? But before that, they drew 1-1 at home to the Red Bulls. So Benteke and Jared Stroud really leading the way in this one. I got a feeling that while both teams can't really keep anybody out, DC just creates way more chances, and Orlando, at the end of the day, they're literally at the bottom when it comes to goals scored this season. They're that whole take you had, bro, on Orlando being your pick is shaping up nicely. But I mean, at this one, I just feel
not
like
just me though. It wasn't just me.
No, bro, it was so
Eli
many
Lester
people.
Said it too.
It was so many people, bro. With how bad Orlando has been, they're still trying to figure it out. The bye week may have helped, right? Well, who knows? They're out of international competition as well. Maybe it's the hard reset they needed. Do they have a shot keeping up with DC United on the road in this one?
I mean, defensively, I think that there's something there against, because DC United isn't necessarily the strongest defensive team, but
yeah.
I mean, who needs a defense when you can freaking score 3 goals a game? So I mean,
very true.
I think the question would be, and I think maybe kind of similar with Orlando. I don't think necessarily they're the strongest defensively, but it's what they have in that attack. And Muriel, I have yet to have seen Muriel be the guy that's supposed to come in.
Yeah.
And there's no shots on Muriel, but I mean, this guy did play at Atalanta. And actually, a period when Atalanta was really good. Like maybe it was just because Inter Milan and AC Milan were kind of just in the pits of the Serie A.
Yeah.
Maybe they just were the benefactors of just a really bad Serie A. But because now you don't really hear much about Atalanta now these days.
No, but it's not this season. They produced talent recently, but yeah, just not a whole lot in the last couple of years.
Yeah, so I mean, we need to see Muriel be the DP, right? That's what we're hoping to see him do. But and I mean, even Facundo Torres, man, I feel like it's been very quiet for Orlando. I think maybe that reset is going to be a big factor for them. I think that's going to benefit them a lot. But you're going up against a really tough opponent.
Facts.
That's the. I want to pull my bias. I want to keep my bias strong here and keep saying that Orlando's going to make a run. I just don't see it in this game. I think maybe that off week helps them out to like build some chemistry, specifically with Muriel. But I don't think you can accomplish a lot in a month in a week when you have DC United coming up. So I'm taking DC United. I think it's just going to be a 2-1 win.
Yeah, I'm going to go as far as saying 2-0. I think Jared Stroud's like second overall in like chance creation in the league as an individual player, which is wild. That trade between them and St. Louis actually worked out really well for DC so far. And then you have Benteke, who I think he's like top 5 in chances created shots taken as a striker. So you get the combination of those two guys up front creating all these opportunities for DC. I think even if Orlando scores, even if they score first, I'm going to say they don't just because they haven't proven they can go on the road and actually score goals. But even if they get a fluky one, and it's more kind of towards what you were suggesting, 2-1, I just don't think it's going to be a pretty overall. There may be some spells in the game where Orlando looks like they're building something. I just think overall a pretty dominant performance. I think DC should come out and win this game. I think we both have it that way. So let's keep it short and sweet there. We'll move on to Montreal versus Cincinnati. Bro, Montreal, what the fuck happened to this team? Montreal got smacked 5-0 on the road against Seattle, against a down bad Seattle team who kind of had, we talk about coming out parties on this show. That was definitely there. We'll talk about them later. Montreal getting smacked 5-0. Cincinnati losing at home at the TQL, which is surprising to all of us who picked them to win against the Red Bulls, even if this is a good Red Bulls team, losing 2-1 at home to the Red Bulls. So after this fast start, bro, Montreal's a big shock to me. They haven't scored in their last 2 matches. They haven't kept a clean sheet in the last 5. And then you have the Cincinnati team who's starting kind of slow. Yeah, they have the really, the one-off weird matchup at home, the L to the Red Bulls, but they're the 3rd best team on the road this season so far. So it's really weird. Since he has to go up north to Canada, Montreal started off hot. They're not kind of going into somewhat of a downward trend. I don't know if it keeps snowballing from here, but can we keep trying to stick up for Montreal despite the fast start that they had, or is Cincy going to try and repeat some of the good away form they've had?
I mean, Cincinnati's just wagon, man. I think what they've been able to build from the bad years of FC Cincinnati to where it is now, it's just stable. I mean, it's not Columbus Crew stable, but
yeah,
it's a stable team. I mean, like we mentioned last week, you lose Brandon Vasquez, but you still find ways to score and win games. If anything, that's the qualities you want to see in a playoff contending team. And I think with the fact that there's a system and all the players seem to be very much bought in the system, you feel like they're more than likely to have the bounce back. Whereas Montreal, I mean, this is still kind of new to them, right? I did feel like they would be one of the more improved teams in the MLS. I think they did a lot of good things in their offseason. And so I'm not saying contenders for the MLS Cup by any means, but I felt that they were going to be very much improved and maybe we're able to be in the discussion come near the end of the season to make a playoff position. And I think this is now the challenge, right? When you're this new team, you're doing well. Now you're getting hit with that slump. How do you respond to that slump? And this might be the best way to see where they're at, where the gauge, challenge themselves, and see if they can do that bounce back. I don't see it happening. I think FC Cincinnati once again's a wagon. But if anything if there's any sort of advantage right now for Montreal, is the fact that it's in Montreal.
Yeah, I agree. I think that bodes really well. I mean, traveling a ton for a game like this, it bodes well for Montreal. But to counter what you were saying with Cincinnati a little bit, I will say this: as good as they are on the road this season so far through 7 games or 8 games, depending on who you are. I think for them it's 7. They have a win and a draw on the road against 2 bad teams, right? So they beat New England on the road. They drew against Charlotte on the road. So I feel like against a decent team or a team who's had some decent form to kick off 2024, this is going to be a really interesting test for Cincinnati. I think they're going to have to be really up for this game. They're going to have to take the last loss against the Red Bulls across the chin and take it personally almost and kind of prove out what I think you're saying, which is that this team is capable of still doing a lot even without some of the players they've lost. I kind of feel like it's going to be a draw. So like one part of me just thinks it's going to be like a 1-1 or something along those lines. Like Montreal will find a way to bounce back a little bit, get on the score sheet, prove themselves against a playoff contender recently. But I don't know if there's a winner in this one. It's hard for me to pick. I don't know. Montreal has to be shaken up from that 5-0, at least a little bit. Like it's got to be, thinking, now they're losing back-to-back games. They just lost 5-0. If they don't get up for this, they somehow lose Cincinnati on the road. This could be what I think a lot of the fans were kind of waiting for. At least the fans who have been against Montreal so far this season, those French Canadians. I think that they've been kind of waiting for this moment to happen, for them to show their true colors and maybe fall into a place on the table where many fans feel they kind of belong, right? Mid-table or a little bit below that. So I don't know. 1-1 is kind of how I see this one, man. I think it could be a good performance by Cincy, but they haven't proven it against a good team yet. Maybe it's this week, maybe it's not, but I feel like draw's appropriate. Let's go to the New York Red Bulls hosting Chicago Fire. Red Bulls defeated Cincy on the road 2-1. Chicago defeating your boys Houston at home 2-1.
Off a bullshit penalty.
Yeah. That was the talk of the town, man, on the timeline. I know a lot of Houston fans who I follow specifically were pretty damn upset still to this day on the timeline talking about whether or not the Fire deserved to win that game. We'll get your take here in a second, Hector, on that front. But with that said, Red Bulls have right now, this is the best version of the Red Bulls we've seen probably in over a decade. They have right now the league's leading scorer, their top 10 scoring offense, and even away from home, they are ranked number 2 in the league. Meanwhile, you have Chicago, who are a pretty decently scoring offense, they're top 10, but they haven't won an away game in the last 5, and they have no clean sheets in the last 10, which does not bode well when you're going up against right now the front runner of the Golden Boot race. So when you think about all of those factors, there is a rivalry, I know, with Chicago Fire and the Red Bulls. And I know if John was here, he'd probably be backing his team no matter what, against his rivals. But I just got a feeling that the Red Bulls are going to take this one, keep the streak going. I don't know how the Fire stops them, even if the Fire are able to somewhat keep up with them scoring wise.
Man, you just beat Cincinnati. Like, I mean, in the TQL.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing more confident gaining than that. I mean,
Facts.
The hell is real, right? That's what they say in Ohio. And so I mean, like, you got to feel super confident. And it's funny too, because they try to start some drama over there in New York or New Jersey, wherever the hell they are.
Jersey.
Starting some drama there. Forsberg leaving Europe without his family. All that.
God, bro, that drama is crazy. By the way, I was like, man, I haven't still got put on blast like that in a while.
Starting that drama there. And still, despite that, they seem very like. And I think that's the other thing, though. It was, to me, when I saw Red Bulls play against FC Cincinnati, they just looked calm. They didn't look like, oh crap, we gotta. There was no nerves there. They went in there, handled their business, got the win. And I mean, Chicago, yeah, you got the win off against the Dynamo. Goody, I mean, now I see what John sees, because I was like, who the fuck is this Goody guy? But I mean, I will say
their best creator, probably.
Beautiful goal. Obviously, there's a little bit of luck mixed in with that one, but poor moment of defending on the Dynamo behalf, but still, still, I mean, that was a beautiful goal. Penalty was a little shit, but it should have been a draw. I'll give you that. It should have at least been a draw. I'm not saying Dynamo should have won that game, but because they also weren't looking great either. But we also got robbed of the penalty, by the way. I missed
a lot there. There's a lot in that game, bro. There's a lot in that game.
Can we get the replacement rest back? Like, I mean,
jeez,
I miss those guys.
I do not, but anyway. So you're back in Red Bulls in this 100%.
Yeah, I think the Red Bulls are super confident right now. They're going against a team that cannot prevent a goal from going in the back of the net. So, I mean, if they can keep their form right and just stay focused and stay nice and even keeled like they were against FC Cincinnati, yeah, I see them handling this game very, very well.
Let's move on to New York City FC hosting the Revs. This has strong, just hearing those two names, by the way, strong snooze fest potential. Like, I'm not even like really remotely excited for this one. But with that said, NYC drew it home to Atlanta, and Atlanta's not that great on the road, so it kind of makes sense. 1-1 in one of the New York specific baseball stadiums. The Revs defeating Charlotte at home 1-0. NYCFC are dead last in goals scored per match. They have not kept a clean sheet in 8 matches either. Meanwhile, the Revs are third from last in goals scored per match. So you have 2 teams in the bottom 5 in terms of scoring. This could straight up be a 0-0. NYCFC would be happy. Revs get a point, and that's a positive, maybe stroke for them considering where they've been so far this season. Snooze fest potential, right?
It's definitely a snooze fest. They're back in Yankee Stadium, so
back in the Bronx. So maybe that'll do something for them. I just don't see it, bro. This NYCFC team does not inspire me whatsoever, even if they were able to draw against a beaten down Atlanta.
Yeah, this is just, I don't know, man. This is one of those matches that I'm just, MLS 360 is not going to show me any highlights. If there's even any highlights there.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Maybe a little zoom in on the index card that they have there for the championship banner. But yeah, this game's gonna stink. At least that's what that's my thought process. But then again, I say this, and then this game turns out to be a banger. So I mean,
maybe I will say this, bro. If maybe Caleb Porter should come out and make another guarantee like he did last week. Remember, like I don't know if you guys saw that he kind of guaranteed they would win against Charlotte, and it happened. Cool, they happened against Charlotte FC at home. Great. I mean, a team that doesn't score that much to begin with, and maybe he does the same thing against this version of NYCFC, and maybe the guy's a prophet. I don't know. Maybe the team backs the prediction and they go all out for him. I don't know what has to happen, man, but please let there be goals in this one. I can't have. I feel like I'm going to be calling New England for Snooze Fest of the week every single week at this point. There needs to be something that just inspires each fan base, but I'm not that hopeful. I think it's going to be maybe a 0-0 or a 1-1, and we just move on pretty seamlessly from this one. So let's move on to my boys. Dallas hosting Seattle, and man, I'm going to be at this game. Dallas and Seattle have an interesting, I won't call it a rivalry, but there's a lot of history between these two clubs. A lot of history. We played them most recently this past season in the playoffs. I think we saw them 5 or 6 times in 2023. They beat us in a best of 3 series in probably one of the most boring playoff series of all time, in my opinion. But with that said, right, Dallas is coming off of a 0-0 draw against St. Louis at City Park. And believe you me, bro, I was celebrating a 0-0 at City Park after how we started this season. To me, was a small W. Seattle absolutely shellacking Montreal. We talked about it earlier, 5-0 at Lumen Field. Both these teams have a million injuries. There's going to be might be like a war of attrition, to be honest. Last time these teams played, I mentioned before, wasn't 2023 playoffs where Seattle got the better of us. But these teams they don't draw very often. They haven't drawn the last 3 to 4 matches. And so when you think about that, right? I feel like this series tends to always favor the home team, even in the playoffs. Dallas, when it was in Seattle the first game, they beat us 1-0. When we went back to Dallas, we beat them 3-1. We went back to Seattle, they beat us 1-0 again. So it's like the home team is probably favored, but this is like a weird version of each team. So I don't know, man. I mean, Joao Paulo's like 50-50. Rui Diaz is the player in form for Seattle. But even then, I mean, I feel like
Nope, don't say that to Xiaoyan.
he really is. I mean, man, he looked absolutely golden against Montreal. But again, it was at home. I don't know what's going to happen in this game. I'm going to be there. I'm going to back Dallas to win just because of vibes at this point. Like, if Dallas lose this game, even if we draw, this will actually be through 7 games the worst start FC Dallas has ever had. The only other season of note that was this bad was the 03 season, and that was the year that we actually moved. We relocated from downtown Dallas in the Cotton Bowl over to Frisco, which is 35 minutes north of it, to Pizza Hut Park, which is now Toyota Stadium. So that year, there was so much transition. The coach didn't last the full season. Jason Christ was injured. Like it was a whole mixed bag of just shit, to be honest. And what's crazy is that we have a much better team on paper, at least with our starters, maybe not with our backups, but this could be the worst start we've had ever in MLS, which is crazy to think about considering who we've signed recently. So I don't know, man. I'm hoping one of these injuries comes back. Like I'm waiting for Yada Mendy to come back. I don't know when that's going to happen. It may be this game. I thought it was going to be St. Louis, but he didn't. So I just can't watch Leggett try to be the entire creator of this offense anymore. I just can't. Like he's not a bad player, but he's just not that guy. Like he's not a facilitator of offense. I think he's a great tool to have out wide or maybe as an attacking mid that gets the ball from a distributor, but I don't think he's the guy. So I don't know, man. Hopefully we get somebody back for this game. But if we don't, I mean, this could be a draw or maybe the home presence and the home crowd gives Dallas a narrow 1-0 win. I'm going to back Dallas to like a 1-0 maybe, but nothing sexier than that, to be honest. How do you see it going, bro? No bias with the Dallas pick.
Look, man, like you're mentioning Sebastian Lletget, and I feel like he's the one that needs to step up, which I'm not gonna lie, man. Since he was traded away from LA Galaxy, he's just not been the same guy.
He's older now, but yeah.
I mean, along with that, but I felt like I mean, and that could also be the fact that he did end up going to New England. I mean, that's a whole discussion for another day. But
yeah, I thought him and Arriola linking up would be a good thing. Like it would be a really good thing for Dallas.
You would
like
have thought that, and it just didn't. It's not working out the way at least what the front office was thinking. I don't know what FC Dallas fans were thinking when they saw they got Sebastian Lletget. But yeah, man, like it's just hard to like find something positive for FC Dallas right now.
Yeah,
besides Musa, but
I mean, it was cool to see us, like I said, hold St. Louis back as much as they were dominant in that game. But yeah.
But on the other side, how much positive things can you say about the Seattle Sounders? So
I mean, look, if it wasn't for this 5-0, I wouldn't be even an ounce of nervous. I would think like worst case scenario, we get a draw. Maybe we find a way to get a counterattacking goal and net out a win. But like the 5-0 like makes me think, okay, maybe there's some kind of confidence they build from that and like go into this next game and thinking, okay, this is a familiar opponent for us. Even if it's on the road, we should, Seattle should have something here. And that's kind of how I feel. Now I'm a little more 50-50 on it.
I think it's an anomaly. I think last week was just an anomaly for them. I mean, it was great that they got it. I mean, I'm sure it gave Xiaoyan a little bit of hope, and not really. He's been super pessimistic about this team. But
probably not.
I feel like I feel like this might be a snooze fest too.
Yeah.
I can easily see this go 0-0.
Yeah. The whole teams are seeking their second win of the season. I can see it. I mean, 0-0. I hope to God we win just to like. It's so shitty to say like, oh, let's move up above Seattle, in the standings so that we're fucking 10th and not 11th or whatever it is, 11th and not 12th. But that's where we are. That's where both teams are right now. Like I said, both teams are dealing with so many injuries right now that it's just like it may just be the most pragmatic game of all time. A lot of long ball, a lot of counterattacking that leads to nothing. Who knows, man? I'm hoping we get like a crazy set piece goal or a counterattacking goal that gives me some hope and gives Dallas fans some hope. Like I said, I'm sure this is a bad start for Seattle too. Historically, I don't doubt that at all. But I don't really care. I'm a Dallas fan. I really want these guys to just figure this shit out. I mean, at the end of the day, like injuries or not, like you still should not be defending as badly as they did. Last week was a step up. They defended much better. And I will say this, bro, the key point for Dallas that I saw, Tafari, who's been, I think you ask any Dallas fan, the best defender that we probably have on the roster and has been the best of a bad defensive bunch so far this season, got scratched at the last second, and we opted for Omar Gonzalez. And Omar Gonzalez led back line kept us a clean sheet on the road against St. Louis. And so I don't know if we do that again. I don't know if that's just like, okay, cool. Let's ride the hot hand and maybe we go with Omar Gonzalez again. We did revert back to our 3-4-3 formation, and maybe we do that again. I'm not really sure. We'll see, man. There's so many question marks, but this could easily be snooze fest. I think realistically, I put my bias aside. I could see a 0-0 or maybe a 1-1. But I'm hoping to God it's 1-0 Dallas, and we take the points and fucking move on. All right, I wish Cavicho was here for this one. Kansas City taking on Miami. I say I wish Cavicho was here simply because he is a massive Argentina fan, and he'll get to see his king taking on his team. Kansas City drew. Man, Kansas City finding a way to throw away leads better than any other team so far in MLS. Kansas City drew to Portland at home 3-3 after leading, I think it was 3-1 in that game. Miami drew to the Rapids at home 2-2. Now, Miami, of course, have a ton of injuries as well. That's worthy of note. But with that said, KC in their own right, they're still missing Russell. They're still missing Ndembe. When these two teams last played, Messi was here, and Miami won 3-2 at home. You can argue this is going to be a similar feel to Miami. Now, they have Triple C tonight, right, against Monterrey. That's going to obviously play some kind of factor in the lineup that's available, even with how many players are already missing. They have to, I think they're going down to Monterrey for the game tonight, right? Or is it home? I think it's in Monterrey. I want to say it's on the road. But let's assume it is, right? If it is in Monterrey.
Yeah, it's in Monterrey.
Yeah, so now they have to fly back to Podunk, Kansas City. I say Podunk, Missouri people don't shit on me too hard. Fly back to Kansas City, try to get this win with a banged up team with minimal rest, and you have Kansas City being Kansas City. So it is going to be a tough place to play. Children's Mercy Park is no easy feat to any team. Should we back Kansas City fully with our chest against Miami in this one?
Yeah, I'm saying yes. I think obviously Triple C, Monterrey. Obviously, there's the beef going where Messi wants to throw hands with the coach.
Yeah.
But I mean, dude, Messi's just been getting feisty all of a
sudden.
Bro,
since he got to MLS, he does not give a fuck. This man wants all the smoke. I love it. I
might add PSG too with it, but
yeah, actually, you know what? A little bit. I think that's what it was, bro. I think after he left Barca, maybe he stopped caring a little bit. It's no longer his club, so he's just like there trying to win. And honestly, that fan base tortured him. But
my all time Messi moment at PSG was definitely when they won Ligue 1, and you just see him walking around like, I don't give a shit about this stupid trophy. Which, like, I think each player got like their own like miniature version of the Ligue 1 trophy, and you just see him walking around with it. Verratti's trying to like hype him up, and Messi's just like, whatever,
bro. Yeah, it is what it is. I don't give a shit.
I'm about to go win. I'm about to go play the World Cup.
Facts, bro. Big facts. I mean, that's what I'm saying. And maybe he, like I said, I think what the take you made a few episodes back on this show where you said, Miami are going to be a team that just pick and chooses the games they get up for. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think this is maybe a game, despite some of the recent results, because Miami is now on a trend of like, what is it? Miami have drawn back games. They're winless than 3. Loss, draw. And now they go on the road against Kansas City, where it's a difficult team to play. They're going to be on full rest. I don't see how Miami wins. Like minimum, I think it's a draw. But again, if it's a draw, it's going to be like a 2-2 or something. I don't know, man. I think Kansas City win this one. I think it's going to be like a 3-2, maybe a banger. I could totally see this being one of the games of the week if both teams had their scoring boots on. Pulido is now back. I think he was on the bench for this last game. I think he's back, probably going to be 100% healthy for this Miami game. Yeah, man. It
how Cavicho's been approaching it as well, right? Because honestly, this is how it sounds shitty, but it should be how every MLS team, especially if you have multiple things going on like Miami has now with Triple C. You have to pick and choose these matches. You don't have to be first place. You don't have to finish second. Hell, you can finish third. Like, I mean, like, it's not the end of the world if you go through a slump, because especially once again, like, we're talking about the 2015 Barcelona team that's over here.
Yeah.
With a mixture of a lot of exciting young players. And I think it's just like they're a good team. You don't have like St. Louis, like let's use St. Louis example. They went on a run, last season. And what happened? They got eliminated in the first fucking round. Like, I mean,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter as long as you're in it. And it's like the lottery. As long as you're in it, you can win it.
Facts. I will say this to just back up your point. Miami are sitting in third place right now, 2 points off the top of the East, despite those 3 negative results in a row that I just mentioned. So if they get one more, they're not going to drop crazy. I mean, they might drop to like 6th place or something, depending on how Columbus, Cincinnati, and Atlanta do. But like, it's not going to be the end of the world if they lose this game. It's just not. And I think right now all eyes are on Triple C, on Monterrey, on getting to the next round of that competition. And if they do, maybe they overlook this upcoming match even more, right? Maybe there's nothing really to prove because of what they're doing in international play, or international competition. So, yeah, man, I just think Sporting Kansas City should win. And if they bottle another lead, Kansas City might as well be the Luton Town of MLS. Like, I have yet to see a team in the Premier League bottle as many leads as Luton Town have. And credit to them, right? Whatever, they were relegation candidates, sure. But like Sporting Kansas City are trending in that direction. Now, 2 massive leads that they've had completely gone away and walked away with a point from each of those matches. So if they get a lead against this Miami team, bro, hang on to it. Cavincho, talk to your boys, bro. Hang on to it the best you possibly can. All right, Hector, we got your boys up on the docket, up against Minnesota, traveling to Minnesota on this one. Minnesota drew to RSL at home 1-1. Houston, of course, talked about it earlier, right? That controversial L on the road to Chicago. Minnesota unbeaten in the last 5 home games. So that's, again, a weird version of the Minnesota United team that we're seeing in 2024. But we've talked a lot about how good you guys have been defensively, even on the road. Top 5 in goals conceded across the entire league. So when you think about what these two teams are going to produce, right? A team who's unbeaten at home, in the last 5, a team who's historically just, at least this season and last season, good defensively, whether it's on the road or not. They've not drawn any of the last 8 matchups against one another. So there should be goals. Minnesota have been good, man. They've been good against some good teams this season. I know you're probably going to take the Dynamo in this one, but I don't know. They haven't drawn any of the last 8. I feel like this could be the one that breaks the hump. I don't know why. I just feel like this one may have draw written all over it. It could be like a 1-1. What do you think?
I mean, I've been picking draw every Dynamo match, it seems like.
And it's worked out for you more often than not, to be honest. You got dubs in there.
Yeah, I have actually. I like staying pessimistic about this team.
It works.
It's just, it goes back to the one thing that my biggest complaint right now for the Dynamo is, where are the goals coming from? Because we still don't have that answer. I think
kind of, bro. I mean, he's doing work.
and I love it. I love watching Ibrahim. Ibrahim.
Ibrahim.
The only thing is just that he's off. He's playing out of position right now. He's not playing at the striker position. He's playing at the wing. Which, I mean, dude's fast. I mean, let's he's so fast. He makes fast people look not so fast.
I love that line.
I love it. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's just he's not scoring on a consistent rate, And I think obviously we saw Sebastian come in. I think he had like a little bit of a knock, which is why he didn't play in the Chicago game. But yeah, once we finally know who's going to be our consistent goal scorer, I think it's great that we're having guys come in and step up and score goals at times needed. I mean, obviously, the comeback win against San Jose, it was from defenders that were scoring those, Franco and
goals are goals, bro. Goals are goals.
Exactly. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think you always want to have that, that surefire, that's our guy. When it comes down to it, he's the one that's going to be scoring our goals. And right now, the Dynamo just doesn't have that. I mean, positive news for the Dynamo. We know, but 420, we're going to have Hector Herrera back. So he looks like he's back to full strength. And even more great positive news is that Nelson Quiones on his Instagram, he was doing some weights on that leg. So put some weights on there.
That's good.
So that's positive news to see him, finally being able to go to the gym and do some exercises. That's a very big thing to see for him, especially from what happened before the season even started.
I think he'll be back early summer. I really think he will. I don't think it's as bad as it looked when it first happened. It looked really bad when it happened.
Yeah. But I think despite all the question marks that everyone has about the Dynamo have still been performing. They've still been getting results, whether it's that one, and on the road as well. They've done very well on the road. I think that's one thing that probably is a lot different from Dynamo teams before, is that this team is a unit. And, they're all synced in. They're all locked in. I mean, they've rotated that center back pairing multiple times now, whether they take Shevchenko out, put Barlow in, or have Mikhail in, take him out, put it, they've been rotating that back line, and they've been very fluid. So I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. I think Minnesota is still very much a very solid team this year, looking really good. And I think it's going to be a good test for the Dynamo, especially I think if they could come out with a win against Minnesota, Dynamo fans are going to be super excited once they have their guy, their captain back in that midfield.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I see this game going like one of two ways, and I think it favors Dynamo probably no matter what. Realistically, I think if Dynamo keeps Minnesota United off the score sheet into the second half, right? Like maybe the first 60 minutes, just keeping everything in front of them, it's going to look like Houston just needs a chance, right? You don't have the out-and-out goal scorers that you need, but they need a chance, whether it's from a set piece or some random shithousery, whatever it's going to be. I think there's something there for Houston to walk away with all 3 points. If Minnesota United somehow score early, right, in the first half, let's say, I think they shut it down and don't let any more goals in. But there's still, again, I'll go back to what I said, the opportunity for Houston to net out something from this game. I think it's going to be a draw. It feels like that to me, like a 1-1, which would still be a very positive road point. I'll say this time and time again. It's been proven a number of times. If you have a solid back line, or even like a solid back six, right? Even the defensive midfielders right in front of them, if they can keep everything in front, all chances kept down to a minimal, you give your team so much opportunity to just be relevant late in games. This was FC Dallas's formula last season. It was the Seattle Sounders formula last season. I think, and it gets you to playoffs, and that's all you need, right? It's all you need. So I think that Houston kind of have that feel right now defensively, where like they're not going to give up much. If you're going to score, it probably needs to happen early, and you need to find a way to control the game against Houston from there on out. But if Minnesota cannot do that, it's going to be a long day for them, even at home. I see a draw. I mean, are you just backing the Dynamo no matter what, or are you thinking draw too, just to keep the streak going?
I think it's going to be. I feel draw as well. I mean, I think, and to mention the cold weather, I mean, Chicago. That was a concern that many had for the Dynamo when they went to Chicago, and I felt like they handled their own very much well. Like once again, it was just some questionable calls that made it what it was. I feel like it would have been a draw. It should have been a draw at least.
Yeah.
And so like I feel like the Dynamo have proven that they can handle can weather the storm, if you will. But we just need to see someone score some goals there.
All right, final 5 matchups. First, Salt Lake versus Columbus. This was going to be, man, this one to me has strong Baker potential. Salt Lake coming off of the 1-1 draw to Minnesota at Minnesota, right? So there's something for the Houston Dynamo to potentially learn from there. Columbus drawing to DC at home against, again, we talked about how good DC are creating chances, and they found a way to get one netted out against the defending champions. Columbus coming off of an epic, and I mean epic, Triple C victory on the road against Tigres, watching that PK shootout, watching Schulte come up big after that crazy mistake that led to Tigres' goal, right? And you think, man, a kid, a team that's somewhat not inexperienced in this competition, but just in general, MLS not having a ton of success in this competition so far. They find a way to come back, silence the entire crowd. But with that said, they went all the way down to Monterrey to get that dub, went the full 120 and PKs. Cucho is back, and that's cool. But now they got to come back and go on the road against Salt Lake. Is this kind of a trap game for the Crew?
No, I don't want to give it a trap game because I think that's just, to me, I think Real Salt Lake is a team that you can't take lightly. I think if it was
trap game might have been the wrong word.
Yeah, if we were talking about an Austin FC or a Seattle, then yeah, this would have all the makings of a trap game, a team that everyone and that locker room would expect that they would be able to walk over. But we're talking about Real Salt Lake, a team that has done very well this season. Obviously, fucking Arango with that solid hook. So I mean, like, there's some things to be worried about, but I think obviously Columbus, luckily, and I'm not saying that this is a huge factor, but it does help. They're not playing tonight, which is Wednesday. They played last night on Tuesday, so that's a little bit more days. I'm not saying that that's like, oh my god, a game changer, but I mean, still, gives them a little bit more time to rest, make their proper adjustments, which you don't want to give Wilfred Nancy time. That's the scary, the most dangerous thing of all is just giving Wilfred Nancy his time to prepare.
Yeah,
I mean, would it be different if you were playing tonight on Wednesday? Maybe, maybe not, depending on how you view it. But I would say also the Columbus Crew has been one of the few teams where I was never worried about them competing in Triple C and competing in the MLS, and they've done pretty well. I mean, yeah, they went the distance against America, and I mean, if there's some positive to note for them, they know how to handle high altitude.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
at least there's that for them.
At least there's that, and I'll be curious to see how Nancy rotates. I don't know how much he's actually rotate. I don't know how much the rest of these players need. 8 games of the season, but there will be some. I just imagine there will be. But like you said, if you give this man time, right? If he gets to see if RSL do not take advantage in the first half and they go into the second half 0-0, and Nancy gets a chance to rotate and kind of adjust to what he's seen in the first half, I think he finds a way to maybe get this win 1,000%. I think it's going to be difficult no matter what for RSL. But man, I think you're right. I think RSL is a hard team to bet against, at home. Like, they just are. Like, I feel like Arango, Luna, I know they don't have Barajas back from injury yet, but I just feel like they have enough to get past this Columbus team. We've already seen not stumble, but we've seen them kind of not net out the 3 points on the back of some of these Triple C matches they've had to play. So I'm not saying there's a priority. I don't think Nancy believes in priority. I think he's going to go for every trophy imaginable. But I just think that we're all human. And I think that at the end of the day, if they only take a draw from this match, they're going to be okay. And if they lose, it's not going to be the end of the world, right? They have big matches up on the horizon for them, and they're still going to be highly relevant and a top contender in the East moving forward no matter what. So I'm actually going to back RSL. I think that just situational context. I think if there's a time for them to get up for this version of Columbus Crew, just with the headlines they've been making lately. Cucho's back now, but I don't know if everything's swept under the rug just yet. And then you get the Triple C layered on top of that. I think it bodes well for Salt Lake fans. So I'm going to back the Salt Lake, maybe like a 2-1. It'll be a close game no matter what, but I think that they'll have enough juice in the legs to kind of squeeze out the W. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Salt Lake is going to come in. They're going to come in with full force. At least they should.
Yeah,
they should not. They should make this game immediately uncomfortable for Columbus. And if they can net out a 1-0 lead into going into halftime, that's a lot of. I mean, obviously, the more goals, the better. But if they can get a goal in the first half, it's gonna set the tone for that team, and really, that's gonna where you test Wilfred Nancy a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I like Real Salt Lake. I do believe it will be like a 2-1 win as well. I think it's gonna be a fun game. Just to see, man, just anytime watching Wilfred Nancy, bro. Like, I mean, it's crazy how we have this guy here. Like, it's
He's
just
going to be in Europe soon. Let's be real.
he's gonna be in Europe. He's gonna be in Europe. So the dude's a tactician, and you just love seeing because it's like you're finally seeing what the real ball can be showed here in the MLS instead of those blinded Euro snobs that don't want to look. They don't want to look at MLS because they're like, oh, it's the inferior product. But I always tell them, man, if there was one team to watch, which is crazy to say this as a Dynamo fan, but I was like, y'all should be watching Columbus Crew, man, because they're playing beautiful football, man. I can't be mad at them.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
I'm still
agree.
mad about the Triple C, but I mean, but I can't
Yeah,
be mad
bro.
at them.
I feel you. No, you can't. You can't. And I will say this too. Keep in mind, it's crazy how good they look when Berhalter ball's not at play anymore. That's all I'm going to say. When you move on from that man, and you bring in an actual manager who's dynamic and knows how to adjust and get the best out of the tactics that he's trying to implement. I mean, you see what this team's capable of, right? And so I don't know, man. There's a lot to be said there too. But I think Salt Lake takes this one. We'll see how it all goes. All right, let's move on to San Jose, Colorado. San Jose lost in epic fashion on the road, 4-3 to Austin. And then you have Colorado, who drew, we talked about earlier, to Miami 2-2 on the road. These teams, it's really weird. It's like almost like, I don't want to say a tale of mediocrity to an extent, but they're perfectly even on the head-to-head record, 11, 11, and 11. Like if there was ever like a draw forecasted, it might be this game. San Jose have yet to keep a clean sheet in the last 7 matches. Colorado have not kept a clean sheet in the last 10. So you hear that they're both averaging like 1.5 goals a game, basically. When you hear that, there should be goals in this game. It should not be a snooze fest by that measure alone, right? They just don't know how to keep clean sheets over there on either side. And you look at how San Jose, how close they came to getting I would call it an upset just because of how San Jose has played so far this season, even if it was against Austin. And Austin actually been better than what a lot of us anticipated coming in 2024. I would have called that an upset. If it wasn't for Driussi coming out of nowhere in the final minutes of stoppage time to smack home that winner, they could have walked out of there with a point. Their record against Austin would have been intact, right? A complete undefeated against that team all time. But yet, here we are. Another not capitulation, but another just bad result for San Jose. And now they get to host the Rapids, who are still trying to find themselves, I think, a little bit, right? So I don't know, man. For me, I got this like maybe a 2-2. Like maybe both teams have their shooting boots a little bit on. I just don't know if there's going to be a winner in this one.
Yeah, man. I think defensively, this team it's kind of one of those games where defensively it's gonna suck. And it's crazy to think it's like we're on Yarbrough revenge game. So I mean,
yeah, it should be. Shit.
Probably not.
Probably not. I like Yarbrough.
Yeah.
I like Yarbrough though. I mean, bro, he's Mexican technically through and through if you think about it. So I have no problem with Yarbrough. But yeah, probably
There was a time where I was just like, Yarbrough's gonna be your next goalkeeper for the U.S. men's national team.
Bro, I mean, he basically was brought up in Liga MX, I guess, kind of you can kind of say, right? Just his whole career up to this point. I mean, I think all of us are kind of feeling that way. But either way, I mean, like Georgie might show up for this game, and that's cool. But they just can't. The Colorado can't stop anybody. So it's like, I don't know. I think to me this is kind of pretty straightforward. I think it's gonna be like a 1-1 or a 2-2.
Yeah, you know what? I'm a back San Jose here. I feel like you know what they did, even though they lost, I think it was a game that everyone expected to be a snooze fest, and it became the most exciting game. It went down the wire. Druzy comes in with that banger of a goal. Austin goes crazy and everything. But you know what? At the end of the day, on the other side, San Jose, they're also to be mentioned for that game because they put in a game where they scored 3 goals also.
Yeah.
And I mean, if it was against anybody else that day, 3 goals would have won them some games. So I think San Jose can. There's something to build there. Obviously, defensively, there's work that needs to be done. But I think attack wise, seeing what Espinoza, what they have at the attack with Espinoza, Jeremy Abobasi still waiting something for him. But I mean, yeah, I feel like they got to come in with some confidence, man. If they can get a goal first, I feel like San Jose wins this game. So I'm a back San Jose. I think that they need a statement victory, man.
At home, right? Colorado having to travel a little bit. San Jose playing, they finally have, like you said, some scoring mentality about them now, at least a little bit. They've proven they can score 3 goals on a team. Maybe they just find a way to clean up some of the defensive mistakes, and who knows, man? Maybe they know how to win. We're gonna back the Quakes. We have yet to fully do this on Wake Up MLS this season, so it's a first. It's a first. We'll take San Jose in this game. Vancouver hosting the Galaxy. Vancouver coming off of that epic win against Toronto 4-0. El Tráfico loss for the Galaxy 2-1 on the road. This is the moment where I think we need to give Vancouver their flowers 100% now. Now I think it's through and through. And the big reason why Vancouver have, well, first off, they've beaten LA Galaxy the last 2 times. But more importantly, this team is now ranked number 1 in goals scored per match. Whether it's efficiently or not, they are getting the job done. Vancouver currently sit, if I look at the table, top of the West solely by themselves with 13 points and the highest scoring offense. They're at home. Galaxy will have to travel north for this game, coming off of an L. I think Galaxy will have chances. Do not get me wrong. But and look, Galaxy themselves in their own right, they're actually top 5 in the league away from home. So they'll have something to say in this game. Do not get me wrong. But I think this is going to be where Vancouver kind of solidifies their stake for what they want to accomplish this season, right? They're a better team than how they looked in 2023, at least so far. And the system under Sartini, man, it's working. Like, it just seems to be working. I feel like we never give Vancouver their flowers on this show. I think we now finally have to. Are you backing Vancouver, or do you think Puig and the boys are going to create enough chances, because they are a high volume offense, create enough chances to outscore Vancouver?
I think this is going to be a fun matchup, man. I think Vancouver. I mean, I've been, like I said, I think I said that last week. I've been trying to give Vancouver their flowers. It's just, if it's not Xiao Yan, it's John that wants to shit on this team.
Yeah, agreed.
But yeah, no, this team has been solid. You don't have to have like the names, right? I mean, Gald has been spectacular, but he's no like, oh my god kind of signing.
Yeah.
But sometimes you need to make the signings that make sense and that to build the team right. And I think Vancouver has just have been bought in. They're all in. And I think that's also an important thing is when you're 100% behind the tactics, behind the quote unquote systems that these managers have come up with, have concocted for these teams. And Vancouver has been bought in. And also BC plays is just, for me, it's just one of the hardest places to compete in.
It really
just
is.
In general, it's just to me, like, it's not aesthetically pleasing, but that's just me. But it is just a difficult place to play in. Maybe it's to travel there, but it's also, to me, it's just overall it's not an easy place to compete in, and I think that that's going to be a factor for LA as well. On the other side, though, they just got embarrassed by LAFC, a game that a lot of people felt that LA Galaxy has this game, and it didn't. LAFC found had their moment. So I think I don't think it's going to get any better for LA Galaxy, at least for this week. I think Vancouver does their thing. I think it's going to be a battle. I feel like it's going to be a very nice 2-1 victory.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 2-1 my exact prediction for this one, too. I actually think this could be potentially a high-scoring affair with 3-2 on the cards, like if both teams really show up. But I think Galaxy will have spells in this game where they just can't stop creating chances. And then they'll have spells in this game where I think Vancouver is just whipping in crosses left and right, and they'll have to defend, which they haven't really proven they can do successfully yet, right? Like, they haven't kept a lot of teams out. So I agree with you, bro. I think it's going to be a crazy game. This, to me, has strong match of the week potential. This is the late night primetime matchup for the Saturday game. So we'll see how it all nets out in Vancouver. Atlanta hosting Philadelphia. Atlanta drawing to NYCFC 1-1. And then you have Philly, who defeated Nashville 2-1 on the road, right? So another epic road win for them. Both teams missing players. I think the big ones, though, the massive ones that we talk about, right, are Gregerson and then Giacomakis out for this game. It is at the Mercedes-Benz. I think it's going to be, the atmosphere is going to be there no matter what. But when you lose a prolific goal scorer like that, going up against a team who's starting to kind of get their form back. Philly has scored 9 goals in their last 5 matches. Right now, they're the best team in the league on the road this season. Now, so when you look at losing, Atlanta being a top 10 offense in the league, but losing your best goal scorer, is this going to be a massive problem for Atlanta, despite them being at the Mercedes-Benz?
I mean, Mercedes-Benz is just a fortress, though. But losing Giacomakis, bro, that's tough.
It's so tough.
And you got to give your tip to cap to Philadelphia, who, I mean, you can't win on the road without a solid defense. It makes the goalkeeper's job tremendously easier.
I mean, they've scored, they're scoring almost 2 goals a game in their last 5.
Yeah, man. And I mean, losing, if Giacomakis was on the pitch, I would say this is a different game. But yeah, man, I don't know. I think Tim Curran's been getting a lot of hate, and now he's like taking it personally. But which, I mean, it's still going to continue. No one likes you.
Yeah, facts. And you haven't done a show for it yet. So when the end of the season gets here, maybe we'll tip the cap a little bit. But for now, I mean, winning a few games, he needs to do more than that.
But yeah, I mean, no, but Philadelphia's definitely found some form, which is a positive for them. I mean, congrats to their U17 team. They won the Generation Adidas Cup. Also, there's some other things that might be happening as well. There's some controversy that happened on that one.
Yeah, 100%. So can we back the Union, or do you think it's gonna be like just a high scoring draw? Maybe not even high scoring. It might just be a draw straight up.
I might just say 2-0 Union.
Wow. Imagine going in there and grabbing a 2-0 win in that fortress of a stadium. They're going to pack it out, I think. I think these teams have a history.
I mean, no offense to anybody in Atlanta United, but I mean, like, besides Giacomakis, like, who's out there?
Yeah, and they're missing one of their best center backs, too, to top it off. And Gregerson. I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe they get some chances created from the midfield. Maybe Almada gets them going. I don't really know. But, like, they're going to have to find goals from somewhere if they're going to keep up with Philly. So Philly's already proven they can go on the road and get things done. And if there's anybody who's a veteran of this league and knows how to prepare their teams for games just like this, you do have to say Curtin, at least in the regular season, knows how to get this type of job done. So yeah, I think AJ wouldn't want to hear it from us, but I think we got to back the Union. It's crazy how, again, whether you lose Giacomakis now, right, through injury, or potentially Almada maybe in the summer to Europe or to any league abroad, it's like those two key pieces. If one of them is missing, it's crazy how much we feel like this team could drop off. So I don't know. We'll find out. If Atlanta loses on the road to Philly, I think people have to start looking at Philly again as the threat we've always known them to be. We'll see what happens. And then finally, the final game on the agenda, St. Louis hosting Austin FC. St. Louis coming off of the 0-0 draw at home to FC Dallas. Austin, again, that epic win against San Jose at home, 4-3. ATX, man, they have yet to win against St. Louis. St. Louis's first season in the league was last season, but they have had 3 matchups, have not won any of them. Literally 1 draw and 2 L's. One of those was an epic clapping. I think it was like 6-3. St. Louis, though, right? I mean, just in this weird sophomore slump form, man. They haven't won a game in the last 5. Meanwhile, Austin are top 10 in scoring, right? Which is interesting, right? We didn't even know where the goals were going to come from heading into the season. But they're top 10 in scoring, despite the fact that defensively, they're on the opposite end of the fucking spectrum. They haven't kept a clean sheet in the last 5 matches. They're also not the best road team, Austin, right? They haven't won in the last couple of away games. So when you think about that, right, this game to me is a mixed bag. You have a team who's, they've won back-to-back games, but those games in Austin are Dallas, who are down bad, and San Jose, who are down bad. And then you have St. Louis, who aren't outright losing a ton of games, but they're just not winning. Like, there's very minimal creativity. Even at home, with the home crowd behind, the sellout crowd, it's not really like giving them a massive edge. I don't know, man. Like, this to me, I don't know. This isn't snooze fest potential, is it?
No, because I feel like there's going to be some goals, but I don't know. Once again, it goes back to last year. They just put way too much effort into that regular season. And I think St. Louis, maybe it's a combination of just sophomore slump, but I think now it's just they kind of know better now. Like, they know, like, we don't have, like, it's shitty that this is the approach, but I mean, when you have a playoff system, this is how it goes. I mean, to be fair though, I will say though, in the other sports, usually the lower seed teams don't go far, besides baseball. But I mean, like, maybe hockey. I don't know. I don't really watch hockey. But like in the major sports, it's very rare that you have a lower seed team, that has to go on the road through the whole playoffs and make it to the championship game and win the whole damn thing. It's very rare that we see it happen. So I'm not saying that like the regular season has no worth. It's just that as long as you finish in at least that top 3 in your conference, I feel like you're doing well. But then there's also still the sophomore slump, and I think that's the other thing that's going on with St. Louis. But I think you got the home field advantage. St. Louis is just, that crowd is amazing. I love that they're all 100% in on the team. I was very fortunate to be in St. Louis when it was going to be their first game of the season, their first home game.
Oh,
I wasn't at the game, but I saw the atmosphere around it, and I was like, I don't want to say there's a soccer capital, but I get the argument.
Yeah, 100%, bro. I mean, they're going to be up for this one no matter what. I think, just the history, right? I think, last week when we had this show, we had 2 St. Louis fans on here who kind of said, if they can't find a way to net out positive results against the 2 upcoming Texas teams they have, it's going to feel very much like a sophomore slump. I think, the Dallas game was a weird one for them. If I'm pulling my Dallas bias out of it, it was just like I said, just 2 teams who didn't really have a ton of creativity in the middle. They were just kind of whipping in crosses where they could. The back lines were stout for the most part, and it ended out to a 0-0 draw. I could see it going that way, but then again, I kind of agree with you. I think they're going to be goals. I think St. Louis can't go this many games, in my opinion, without getting a win at home, right? I just don't think they can. Like, they did draw at Austin FC not too long ago, right, about a month ago, 2-2. So I think they're going to be goals, maybe something along those lines. But at home, right? I mean, if you think about, they drew 2-2 to DC United. They drew to S Dallas 0-0. Maybe it draws in the cards again. I mean, that would be crazy for this fan base to only have 1 win in the first 8 matches after the season they had last year. But again, we've seen MLS do it time and time again. I think it's going to be a draw. I'm probably just going to back that way. Either a draw or a win. I don't see Austin putting together 3 wins in a row, especially with one of those being a massive road game against St. Louis. I think it's going to be a draw. What do you think?
I'm gonna go with 2-0 St. Louis. As much as I want to commend Austin, I feel like you got it was a combination of just everything clicking in that game, but at the same time, it was like, bro, y'all gave up 3 goals. Like,
that's fair.
It's not me trying to, like, put a rain on your parade or anything like that, but it's like, yes, it was a thrilling match. It was great that it went down the wire, But on the other side, and I'm sure that when when they're discussing this film tape, y'all gave up 3 goals to San Jose. So I mean, like they're still like it. Maybe this game could have been. This game was more stressful than it needed to be for Austin.
Yeah.
And I just once again, you're going into St. Louis. That's a different team than San Jose. Even though they're on their slump and not looking great, I still they're not at that same they're not in the same discussion as San Jose is going through.
Yeah.
So I feel like with that home crowd, I'm back in St. Louis with a 2-0 victory.
Yeah, I mean, look, I would personally, as a Dallas fan, I would love it. Yeah, you know what? I'll stick with the St. Louis train. I wouldn't surprise me to see a draw, which is how these teams have gone up against each other recently, and what St. Louis is doing recently form wise. But I think they're also overdue for a win. It's like it feels kind of that way, and if they don't get a win, I don't know if their fans will ever start to turn on them the way that we kind of saw Austin FC fans slowly start to do with Wolf Out movement and everything else in 2023. But maybe I think maybe it's on the cards. Who knows? I think that fan base is going to be very demanding of this team very soon, though. So we'll see what happens. Maybe this is the win that kind of gets their snowball rolling in a positive way. Snooze fest of the week, man. I'm pretty much going to back. I think it has to be NYCFC in New England. I was going to say Charlotte versus Toronto. That's probably up there too. You know what, bro? Actually, yeah, it's going to be Charlotte versus Toronto. Let's be real. Let's be real. I'm not even going to say New England versus or NYCFC because at the baseball stadium, maybe New York City shows up and gets a goal or two. Who knows? But the lowest scoring offense, both of them really kind of Charlotte and Toronto being as low scoring as they are, I imagine that was going to be a 0-0.
Yeah, I mean that's a very fair one. Unfortunately, I'm going with the FC Dallas Seattle Sounders game. I think that's going to be
maybe we'll see.
Not a snooze fest for you and Xiaoyan, but I mean,
bro, if I'm there at the stadium, it's a 0-0. It'll be.
I'll be watching it. I'll be watching it. I'll be at least rooting for. I mean, MLS 360. Let's be real. But I'll keep an eye on what's going on there. Just because obviously there's two people that I know that have vetted interest in there, so I will be at least watching it for that. But I mean, it's just not an ideal matchup right now.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And then finally, game of the week. I think we might both be on this train, bro. I think it's Vancouver versus the Galaxy. I think that's going to be a banger. I think you have two of the most potent offenses in the league right now going up against each other. And I think that this is what the league needs. We need more games like this. Two teams that were not down bad by any means. Vancouver finishing like 6th or 7th in the West last season, and Galaxy being towards the bottom of the table. But two teams, I think, according to most fans, are surprising in 2024, and by different measuring sticks, of course. But yeah, man, I think that this was going to be. It should have a lot of goals. This should be hopefully a big advertisement for MLS. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to double down with Vancouver LA Galaxy.
Yeah.
I think MLS when obviously they on the occasion you'll have that one game that's on Fox, and I think MLS needs to maybe I know this is gonna sound terrible, but let's not pick right away what game's going on Fox. I think we need to have at least like 2 weeks notice, and we'll be like, hey, just so you know, you're gonna be on Fox today.
Flex games, yeah, the flex games, yeah.
Flex these games out, man. Put the clearly better matchup. I don't think any of these games will be on Fox this week, but I feel like if MLS, if you guys want to do it, just make the more appealing match, the game that's going to more than likely be the best game. Put that on for Fox. Make that the free game people can watch.
Yeah.
Because and I say this also because like the Premier League, man. First of all, fuck you. Every time I want to watch Chelsea versus Arsenal, but I have to get it on Peacock instead of it being on USA or fucking NBC.
Yeah, agreed.
Like, stop teasing. Like, stop. No one wants to watch fucking Luton Town versus fucking Nottingham Forest. Like, no one wants to watch that game. Like, put the games that we want to watch. Like, this is how you sell soccer in America is by putting the best product out there for free.
Yeah, I agree, bro, wholeheartedly. This is definitely how you do it. So we'll see what happens. But I got a feeling no matter what, regardless of how accessible that game is outside of Apple TV, I mean, this is going to be a banger matchup. But look, Hector, thanks again, bro. I appreciate you, man. This is a hell of an episode. We got through a little bit quicker than normal. If you disagree with any of the picks the dynamic duo made today, let us know in the comments down below. You guys weren't shy about the fucking Trafico pick. I'll say that. I think wholeheartedly the entire show got that one wrong. But we weren't the only ones. So with that said, let us know in the comments down below. If you are new to the channel, subscribe and like the video. It does really help. Every bit of support goes a long way. With that said, my name is Jose. That's Hector. This is Wake Up MLS. We'll catch you guys next time.